This event is presented by the Lloyd D. Levinson Institute of Gaming, Hospitality, and Tourism, Stockton University's School of Business.
Ready? Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 14th Annual Shorecast, presented by the Lloyd D. Levinson Institute of Gaming, Hospitality, and Tourism in the School of Business at Stockton University. I'm Jane Buckinevich. I'm the Faculty Director of Light, and I'm joined today by a panel of experts from various segments of the gaming, hospitality, and tourism industry. Before we hear from our panelists, I just have a few opening comments that I'd like to share with you about some data that was just released from Visit New Jersey. Okay, so the first chart shows Jersey Shore visitors, and the blue line shows you on the state level, and the yellow line shows you just for the shore communities. And the shore communities include Cape May, Atlantic County, Cape May County, Ocean County, Monmouth County, and Cumberland County. So as you can see, it compares the last 3 years, 2019 to 2021, and 2021 showed a significant improvement over 2020, but still hasn't returned to 2019 levels if we look at the full year of 2021. But also what's important on this chart is to show you that of the visitation to the state of New Jersey, almost 50% of it is from the shore counties. So it shows you how important the shore is to the Jersey tourism. As far as spending goes, more than 55% of the total spending in the state is from the shore counties. And again, the same story, although both the state and the shore counties have improved over 2020, they still haven't reached 2019 levels. But they have increased almost 30% over 2020. This is the Atlantic City gross gaming revenue for the casinos, and it's from brick and mortar gaming, which includes slots, table games, and poker. And it has recovered pretty well since the pandemic, but it's just 2021 was just shy of 2019. So it was 2.6 billion compared to 2.7 billion in 2019. So it was very close to a recovery. And the first 3 months of 2022, the casino gross gaming revenue for brick and mortar was up slightly over 2019. This chart shows you the percent change in total travel spending for the state of New Jersey. And so it was negative, below zero, since the pandemic, but you can see it was gradually improving. And then in February of this year, it broke even with 2019. And so, you know, this is a very positive trend for the state. And finally, Jersey Shore jobs. Again, similar story, but just to point out, the jobs in the shore communities represent 45.4% of the total direct employment in the state for tourism jobs. Again, 2021 was better than 2020, but just shy of 2019. And this may be a factor of the jobs are available, they just haven't been filled. Okay, so now that I've shared some data with you to set the stage, I'd like to turn it over to our panelists. And first, if I could ask the panelists to please introduce yourselves. I'll start with Oliver here on my left.
Oliver Cook, Associate Professor of Economics at Stockton University.
Good morning, Sharon France, Sales and Marketing Director of Steel Pier, right here in Atlantic City.
Good morning, Diane Whelan. I'm the Director of Tourism for Cape May County.
And good morning, Jim Zaris. I'm Vice President of Sales for Caesars Entertainment Atlantic City region.
Thank you. Okay, so I shared some data on a statewide level, but now I'd like to get your thoughts on how did local tourism industry perform in 2021 from your perspective?
I think that 2021 was a very, very solid year of rebound for the local tourism and hospitality industry. As you showed, Jane, employment still remains not quite back to where it was kind of pre-pandemic. The leisure and hospitality industry in particular in Atlantic City lost about 14,500 jobs or so in 2020. And last year gained about not quite 7,000 of those back, 7,000. So we're still kind of gives you a sense of where we stand. But I mean, across the board, especially as it relates to the summer of 21, and I think other folks will chime in, was very, very robust. Whether you're looking at, you know, kind of hotel and motel tax data, you know, in terms of, you know, bookings, very, very solid. In fact, it's probably going to make 2022 pretty tough in terms of year-on-year comparisons, given what happened last year.
I agree with Oliver. Last year in Atlantic City, we exceeded our expectations from 2020. We didn't know what we were going into last year. And I honestly say in my industry, we're an outdoor industry. So obviously that was where everybody wanted to be. And weather had a lot to do with our growth in our numbers at the pier.
I agree as well. For Cape May County, we've recovered 96% compared to 2019. So we were there. We're seeing that even into the first quarter of 2022, that things are moving for our winter months. And we saw that our lodging has surpassed 2019, which was a record year. Visitation has also surpassed 2019 with 10.3 million visitors to Cape May County. So things are looking good. We're there, you know, right there, close to recovery, and we're seeing, you know, things continue to move and do better, and again, hit some more records as we move forward.
And in our end, was Jane pointed out in that one slide, 2021 was very similar in gaming revenue to 2019. The segment that is in my wheelhouse, and Larry Sieg from MeetAC, is meetings, conventions, banquets, trade shows. And in Q1 of 2021, it was slow going. You still had the social distancing limitations. So it wasn't until Q2 that you started to see some of the group business come back. So whereas in the casino, we're constantly comparing our numbers now to last year. In the meetings and convention ends, we're comparing it to 2019, because that's a truer picture of when we were very vibrant and at full speed.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start with Oliver again on this one, and then I'll try to shift it up so, Jim, you're not always the last to comment. How would you describe the region's current economic circumstances? And if you could please comment on things that everyone's worried about with gas prices, inflation, and a potential recession on the horizon.
So first quarter 2022 relative to first quarter 2021, total Atlantic City employment is up about 15,000 jobs year on year, which is 13%. That is off the charts, you know, robust in terms of job growth. And you know, that is in my mind, is a very, very good indicator that the momentum that we saw, you know, starting to come back in 2021 is very, very likely to translate into, you know, some very good times going forward, you know, barring any major wild cards, one of which, of course, is very much inflation. I think inflation has definitely been obviously the kind of the headline story of the last several months. I think that it's going to continue to play a huge role moving out over the rest of 2022. You know, I can have more to say about this later, but obviously there's a lot of folks that are very much watching the Fed, and in particular how responsive the headline rate is to the Fed's tightening. But that, you know, as it relates to gas prices, obviously, which remain very, very elevated, they shot up, they came down, they kind of moved back up over the last month or so again. You know, oftentimes this kind of works in many ways to South Jersey's benefit, I think, because, you know, I think, you know, some folks will talk about this. There's a little bit of a substitution that goes on oftentimes, you know, local for far vacation destinations, especially as it relates to jet fuel prices and airline tickets, which have jumped dramatically. That said, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult to say how that works out over the coming summer shore season, just because I get the sense that the demand for air travel is just also unbelievably high right now. You know, we're hearing bookings, even given very, very high ticket fares, which are up 25% year on year, not really having much impact, at least so far in 2022.
I like going after Oliver. Again, I agree with Oliver. You know, we have concerns with the gas prices. We also have concerns with products going up. Products and services are skyrocketing on our end. As far as our, you know, our ticket prices and everything, we have to raise the prices. We're trying to think out of the box on how to get people here. Again, to Oliver's note about people staying local more so than flying and stuff. So we're going to tap into that market, but we definitely have concern for the federal level of where we're heading with gas prices and inflation moving forward.
I agree. We do surveys with our visitors. I'm looking at some of the data now. We have people who were highly interested in coming. What we started to do last year in 2021, we had this tagline that says exciting places, open spaces, to kind of tie into people who still wanted to maintain that social distancing and, you know, not be around crowds. This year we had a campaign tagline that from 2009, when we had gas concerns then, called A Tank of Gas Away. We've dusted that off. We're using that because we want to resonate with there's 30 million people within a 300-mile radius. So we wanted to resonate with them that it's a tank of gas away, that they could be here to some, you know, incredible all along the Jersey Shore, but to be able to spend their summers and not have to have the biggest concern. What we're finding with the inflation is every dollar they spend today in their gas tank at the grocery store for utilities is going to impact their discretionary spending. So, you know, they're going to be making some changes and some adjustments in their spending. Are they going to shorten their vacation? Are they not going to take a vacation? Will they, you know, change their budget when they get here and change some of their, you know, you have to have a room. You have to eat, but you don't have to have 3 meals a day. You don't have to go out to, you know, expensive diner, you know, restaurants, you know, maybe go back to takeout and things like that. So, you know, one of the things, the message is, because we understand that our businesses, it's cost them more money to provide the services, is that we have to be flexible. And it's flexible, you know, across the board because, you know, the inflation and gas prices are going to impact the daily lives of families. When you take a look at, you know, gas, lodging, food, that's about 63% of the average family's budget. So when that goes up, where are they going to take it from? It's going to come from discretionary spending. So, you know, we're very concerned about it. We're watching it. The one thing that we have on our side is that the response from so many of our visitors in our survey is, we want to go away. We want to go to the beaches. We want to go out, you know, experience nature. It used to be more about, you know, extreme sports. Now it's more about family get-togethers, you know, coming together with friends, family, and relax. So, you know, it's definitely impacting the businesses. And the key word right now is to be flexible and understanding, and so we can still get our visitors here.
Good point. We're looking forward to just a bang-up summer, and you know, the gas prices are real, inflation's real. But I was just on a webinar with the U.S. Travel that claimed that international travel will be taking a hit. So more with the pent-up demand, domestic will rise within our location. Diane, would you say 300-mile radius is
30 million people.
30 million people? That bodes well for us. And you know, it's not just guessing that this is going to happen. We're seeing it in our advanced reservations for hotel rooms for the entire summer. A lot of that is event driven. We've got a couple really big conventions in during that time frame. We've got outdoor concerts. So you're just seeing that demand.
Great, thank you, everyone. Okay, I did say I was going to start with Jim, but I think this one, whoops. Let me back up here. Sorry. Oh, okay, never mind, I'm sorry, my questions are out of order. Okay, I am going to start with Jim on this one, I take it back. To what degree has your business recovered since the start of the pandemic?
It really has. You know, and again, two different hats, the macro casino and the micro meetings and convention piece. The casino is definitely, you know, the revenue is back. We were very fortunate to have, for Caesars Entertainment, $400 million that we're spending for room renovations and for has happened, and we're going to reap the benefits of that, and there's more restaurants coming in the future. So we're definitely seeing that coming. From, again, the group side, we are seeing, Larry, you and I were talking earlier, I mean, the numbers are over the roof. I mean, you block out 150 rooms and they pick up 200, 250. So we're pleased by that trend. The only piece that we're missing, though, is the corporate meetings. They haven't fully come back to the level they once were. A lot of that has to do with a lot of the corporate headquarters, or workers aren't even back to work yet. So what we're hearing from our meeting planners is, once that happens, yes, we definitely need to, start meeting again face to face. And a lot of the groups that aren't meeting face to face are at least doing a hybrid, half remote and half face to face.
Thank you, Jim.
Sure.
Diane?
Well, as I mentioned before, Cape May County has recovered to 96%. We started to see recovery in 2020. We had record occupancy during the September and October. We were marketing more heavily. We were really drilling down and doing a lot more digital advertising, reaching out to our visitors who have come in, prior, return visitors, and we started to see that increase. Over the winter months, which is not usually a huge time for us, we saw an 11% increase in visitors over the winter of 2020. So then we started into 2021, and we just were seeing through occupancy numbers that we could track monthly, we saw that we were already matching or increasing 2019. So when we started to move into the summer, in July and August, occupancy was $4 million. I mean, that's 5% of the room rate. We've never hit that, and there's no county that hit $4 million at all, and we were hitting that in 2021 in July and August, and then it continued through the fall and into the winter. So we are seeing that we are there. We were, we never stopped marketing. When everything shut down, it took about 24 hours to redirect and reinvent our whole marketing campaign, basically saying, we get it, we understand, we're here, we're going to stay out in front of you, we're going to walk you through this, and we want to make sure that when you get here that we're going to provide a safe vacation. We implemented a Safely Together campaign that talked about, we're here when you're ready, and we're going to make sure that we're following the safety guidelines, the CDC, the masking, and that was a message in all of our advertising. It was that confidence. We're here, we understand, and we want to make sure that you're going to have a safe vacation. And it seemed to work. Is that the only reason? I think a lot of reasons are people just wanted to get out. We had an amazing winter and fall with second homeowners being in our area. 47% of the dwellings in Cape May County are considered second homes. We saw them while they could work remotely and children were doing virtual schooling. They were in our area. When they came, they supported our businesses, the retail, restaurants, recreation. So that helped us tremendously. Retail was also a big winner for us during the pandemic, 2020 and well into 2021. We used to sit, we don't have any malls, we don't have any chain stores. Well, that's not what the visitor wants. They really want to do that boutique shopping. They want to have that one-of-a-kind item that they can take home, a souvenir. And so we found that we started to recover towards the end of 2020, and it has not stopped.
Steel Pier, I can say we actually recovered 100%. In 2020, some businesses weathered better than other businesses, and obviously being an outdoor venue again, with all the casinos having their restaurants and bars closed, and then they were limited with their, how many people could capacity and stuff. We were outdoors. We have 4 bars. We have all our food venues. So we really were the place that everybody came. So we saw a lot of success in 2020. And then 2021, actually in 2020, we also, we became the wedding destination for Atlantic City because we ended up doing 10 weddings for poor brides that were not able to have their weddings. And we were like, hey, yeah, come have your wedding with us. And we had 10 huge, big, successful weddings. And now we are a wedding venue, We're on the knot, and I got myself a little bit more work than I asked for, but it's all good. And then also to Jim and Larry's sake, we are seeing a lot of the conventions having their receptions with us. And we are definitely saying that it's because of the outdoor venue. We're still seeing the trend that people still want to be outdoors. And we have just picked up so many convention receptions from 500 people, 250 people to 100 people. So we've seen, Steel Pier has seen a lot of growth, and I think it has to do with the outdoors, the outdoor venue. And again, our challenges would be the weather, if anything, right now.
Oliver, do you have anything to add?
No,
Yeah, that's kind of not your question. Let's see. Okay, this one many of you already answered, that you have returned to, many of you have returned to pre-pandemic norms. So does anybody have anything else to add? I think I'm going to skip over this one.
I will add something. I do think what I've seen in the trend in every industry, I see a lot of people want new experiences. And another thing that we've seen grow in our industry is our helicopter ride. It's an experience. People are looking for something totally different from what they had in the past. They're camping now. They're camping more than they were. They're fishing more. They're going, I've seen a growth in the bait and tackle stores. So there's so many different areas that this pandemic brought to people's attention, and they're doing now. And I think the new experience for them is driving people to our destinations and stuff for different things to experience.
Great.
And to add to that, we kind of put it under the unintended consequences of the pandemic, is much what Sharon said. The camping industry in July of 2020, their reservations were off by 71%. Cancellations, the Canadian-US border was closed. The campground industry was like scratching their head, what are we gonna do? And the unintended consequences are that more and more people wanted to go out and experience the camping. They were, you were hearing it with the sales and rentals of RVs and camping equipment. And that just bolstered the campground industry. When they come, the economic impact of the camper is that they're not spending all their time at the campgrounds, although many of them can because they're beautiful resort campgrounds, but they're out and about and they want to be out in nature. They want to be fishing. They want to be doing outdoor adventures. And that has really continued. And I don't see that ending anytime soon. They got the bug and they've bought the big RVs and they spent the money. And while they may only get 8 miles to a gallon, we're marketing to them from the closer regions and say, it's an easy drive, less than a tank of gas, and when you get here, you can do a lot of things. So that's especially one of the things that we looked at and said, well, it really did help some of our industries.
Another thing I'm going to is look at the restaurant industry alone, just the outdoor dining. And who ever thought in January, December, and February, you'd be sitting in a restaurant outside, and enjoying that, or going to a festival at Renault Winery in the freezing cold. And that's like another new trend, and it's continuing. So a lot of things did come out of this pandemic that are growing the industry.
Interesting stuff.
I thought my golf game would get better, though. It didn't.
Can I ask a question, Diane? I'm not sure if you have this data handy at the ready, but did it hurt the hotel industry, the increase in camping?
No, it did not. Our lodging is above what it was in 2019 even. I just think even the hotels people wanted to get away. They just wanted to go away. They wanted to get out. They wanted to be away from the quarantine and the 4 walls that they were looking at for months. So no, it did not impact the hotel industry. It was really good to see.
It was additional travelers. Very good, thank you. Okay, so you touched on some of this, but let's hear from the panelists. Everyone had to change their operations during the pandemic, of course. What changes do you think that you've made in the past will persist going forward? Anybody want to jump in on that one?
Just what I said earlier, I'll repeat myself, is the outdoor experience, the events, marketing to the conventions and the meeting planners and stuff. And we also, we're tapping into the bus groups, and we're the bus groups that come to to the casinos. We've tapped into them for, outdoor barbecues because they do like to be outside, not be in the buffets. Just thinking out of the box and just really, just giving them an experience that they normally would never have in the past.
Jim, how about from the casino's perspective?
I think what's here to stay is the importance of cleanliness, hand washing. I don't think you're ever going to see that emphasis go away. And also technology. We had to embrace technology a lot more. For instance, you go to the front desk and you see all these self check-in. So if there's not enough agents working, there's a line. You can go right there, and we've put them all throughout our properties, and we've gotten great feedback from that. Another thing with technology is if you have facilities call, if there's a leak or a rip in the wallpaper, we call that in, and it's streamlined into a technology system that goes right to that trades and prioritizes it. Is it guest related? Goes right to the top. So some of the technology that, and we're looking at even more and more. We were just on a advisory with Atlantic Cape Community College, and the gentleman from Ocean said, you know, I would like people to stop lining up at my front desk. I would like us to walk around with iPads and check people in. They're getting out of their car, they're valeting, let's get them right there. And I thought that was a wonderful idea that I'd like to hopefully see come to fruition, because nobody likes walking up to a line, whether it's at the bank or the deli counter or at the hotel.
Thank you.
On
Anybody
the
have?
other side of that, on the guest side with the technology, but also on the marketing side, during the pandemic, more and more people were getting their information online. They were home. I know myself, when I was home, it was a nice distraction to make some plans for vacations, but we found that as more and more people were going online searching for travel information, you know, our numbers jumped tremendously on our website. And so we were drilling down on, you know, let's make sure that we're reaching our customer through electronic marketing, digital marketing, social marketing, to make sure that we're in front of them and that we're giving them, you know, some ideas for planning vacations. So that has not changed and will continue. And one of the sticky wickets we had in our survey, we found, because we have a majority of our visitors are baby boomers, that they really wanted the print ad, they really wanted the TV, the radio. But now we're starting to see that that's changing, and that we need to, you know, because of that, we spent money on that, and we'll continue to spend money, but we were able to make some adjustments and put more dollars into that whole digital and social platform, so we can make sure we're reaching out and able to respond, you know, to get the engagements and to respond and give people the information when they want it and how they want it. So I don't think that's going to change.
Very good, thank you. Anything else on that question? Okay. So what challenges are you still facing, and are there any new challenges on the horizon? So let's start with Sharon on this one.
Yes, we do have challenges. One would be our labor workforce is a challenge. We're in competition to Steel Pier. Not only are we not just, I'm talking about our food, I'm like, you know, promoting our food, and we're also a ride pier. I mean, we have rides, over 28 rides and attractions. And we're finding it a little challenging in the labor market. And we're also in competition with the casinos. We're an amusement pier that's only open 3 months a year, and the casinos are open 12. And they offer a, more of a salary, higher wages and stuff. So we have a challenge there. Other challenges we face are, you know, I'm going to go into even further out, like airport service. There's so many things that, you know, are that Steel Pier and the city have challenges, that are challenges.
Are you able to hire the foreign students on the J-1 visas?
We do. last year we all know that they were not able to come. This year it's still not 100% of them. We are getting a percentage of them. The current concerns this year in Atlantic City is housing. The housing has been an issue. I think the housing is an issue in a lot of places, but in here there's a lot of things changing in Atlantic City, a lot of great things. The boarding homes are now being changed into boutique hotels. So it's all good things, but in the same token, those are the places where the J1s would stay. So now we're seeing a little difficulty in finding housing for them. But we do have them coming. But can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I will say that the local students last year got us through the entire summer. Our local high school kids, our Atlantic City, Egg Harbor, they got us through. They were phenomenal. And they're back again working, and they're repeating. And that's really great to see. Like, the students stepping up, and, you know, more so than the adults. They were the kids really stepped up to the plate and really got us through the summer, and we're really proud of them.
Very good. Diane, anything to add?
One of the challenges that we see right now is that a lot of the housing market that were available for rentals are being bought as residential homes. So it's taking those homes off the market. They may at some time decide to rent with Airbnb or through a rental agency, but we're seeing that that is not only for the workers, but for people who plan to come down, for their weekly vacation. When people come for a week, they do all the hot things, the hot items, and then they go home. And then the next week we bring in another group that does the same thing. But if you're a homeowner, you get a little complacent. Been there, done that. I'm going to try something else. So, that is a challenge. And we're seeing, the other thing is that the availability of rentals is pretty much depleted right now. People have made the reservations, they're coming. And so we're not, are we not going to see the return visitor, or are we not going to see growth? When we look at 85% of our visitors are return visitors, and there's that 15% that's new, that we want them to continue to grow the new visitor who soon becomes the return visitor, who what we're finding now has now become the homeowner. So, that is a challenge that, we can't, grow more land. It's not going to happen. So we need to figure out how we can,
Really?
I know the Lost Island of Atlantis, we were hoping comes up anytime soon around off our coast, but, we, that's going to be a challenge, bringing in new people.
Very good. Jim?
Well, we're definitely a year-round resort. Everyone knows that. But John Coster, our regional president of Caesars, always, anytime I'm in the meeting, he always talks about that 100 days of summer. And those 100 days of summer, you have to absolutely maximize. We have to put our best foot forward, and we have to nail it. So I think the challenge is availability, because we quickly run out of rooms at all three properties on a high summer weekend. We've got great conventions coming in. NAACP will bring in 12,000 people, $7 million direct impact to the city of Atlantic City. That's rooms filled, restaurants, banquets. It's a great convention, but we still need more rooms on those weekends. Weekend concerts, the beach concert series. The rates are right through the roof right now because they've already booked up. So that's somewhat of a challenge.
All right, thank you. Oliver, anything?
I would just add, I do think that the labor force issue, which has been kind of hanging around over the last year, which obviously, significantly impacted a lot of the smaller business community in particular last summer, does seem that it's getting a little bit better. The job market is just, it's just been so blistering hot, frankly, over the last 12 months. The unemployment rate has fallen way back to, it jumped dramatically locally, and now it's back down to about 6% or so, which is, north of the national rate, but still far better than it was. And the labor force, honestly, here, a lot of people, there's a lot of debate over the impact of UI benefits that were enhanced and extended, because of COVID reasons. But in terms of like where the south part of the state is with its labor force relative to the states, they're both basically on par at this point. They're about 2% down, which is still versus pre-pandemic. So it's not entirely back. And nationally, it's basically back to where it was pre-pandemic. So I think that some of these are gonna hopefully, the J1 program, hopefully, will start. I think there's a bottleneck, as you suggested, Sharon. So I think some of those challenges as it relates to labor are going to, hopefully continue to dissipate. But the inflationary pressures of wages in particular, is an important consideration for sure.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this is the big question. What do you predict, look into your crystal ball, for the summer season of 2022? And I think I'll start with Oliver on this one.
I think that summer 2022 is going to be another very robust, very strong summer shore season. I think that it may not be as robust as last summer, because I think that there was just some very unique characteristics. I hope I'm wrong, actually, but I think that there was so much pent-up savings and pent-up demand, lots of fiscal stimulus that was kind of juicing household balance sheets. I think the effect of inflation, to Diane's earlier comments, this does start to become a question for many families regarding, higher discretionary spending. And so to the extent that that has become more of a frontline story over the last 6 to 9 months, vis-a-vis last summer, I wouldn't be surprised if we're close to where we were last summer, but it's going to be very hard to, I think, look back and say 2022 was just unbelievable just because 2021 was so high on a year-on-year basis. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad season. That's just that, I mean, that's an important point, right? I mean, it's just that it's going to be, the year-on-year comparables are going to be real tough, I think, for many businesses.
From what I'm seeing, we do an online sale for our rides, and this is a good crystal ball for me. We had a really strong sale this past spring. We just ended it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to predict that people are going to be looking for deals. They're going to be looking for discounts. They're going to be looking for their best offers. I can already see that coming down the pike. So that's maybe a way you can combat, bringing people into your business and stuff. I also, I think we might be back to pre-pandemic numbers. I agree with Oliver. I would love it if we are 2021's season. I don't see that because that money is not there. That extra money is not there. And I also, for us, it's weather. Even if it's pre-pandemic or pandemic, if you have weather, in our industry, weather is everything, especially at the Jersey Shore. So if we get the weather, I think we're going to be good. And I'm predicting a good summer.
I'm looking right now from all indicators from our various tourism organizations, chambers and all that. The season is looking great. We in Cape May County have steadily moved inch by inch, but there's never going to be gigantic increases. But there are other factors such as the Canadians, and we have about 100,000 Canadians who come between July and August. They have their construction holiday, which gives them 2 weeks off. Normally, it's the last 2 weeks in July, but because of the economy in Canada, in the past, say, maybe 10 years, they've been able to take that 2 weeks during the summer. With the border closed 2 summers, it really impacted all of us. And while, in the beginning, when the Canadians, we first started marketing in 1968, and we had an office in Canada, in Montreal, for 25 years, it was campgrounds in the wildwoods. But what we've seen now, we have second and third generation Canadians that they're staying in hotels and impacting the entire county. If they stayed in a campground outside of Ocean City, they know Ocean City like the back of their hands, and now they're renting while the younger ones are maybe camping. Their older first generation are going to the hotels. So that's going to give us a little boost. I'm going up to Canada next month, or at the end of this month, but what we're hearing from them is the gas prices aren't going to impact them. They've been paying a lot for gas anyway. The other costs that they have on everything is goods and service, which is about 18.5% tax, a GST tax that they don't have to pay when they're here. They want to get away. They haven't been able to. And we started marketing in Canada. We normally start marketing in March. We started in December once the border opened. And we're hearing from the campgrounds and the hotels that a lot of the Canadians are returning. And so the gas prices aren't so much of a factor for them. And they just want to get away. And they want to, they've been here for so many generations, they just want to rekindle and regroup and come back. So that's going to give us a little incentive to boost our visitation. And, while everyone's probably going to spend less, we're hoping that the more people come here, we can make up for that. So that's what we're looking at for the 2022 season.
Jim?
And we're really bullish on this summer season. A lot of it has to do with timing. We're getting our waterfront tower at Harris back online. So brand new renovated rooms coming back into inventory, which we don't have right now. The Centurion Tower over at Caesars, 8 new restaurants at Tropicana. And then into the fall, even better. We'd all like to make that a Memorial Day deadline for all these, but we've got great restaurants like Hell's Kitchen and Nobu over at Caesars. They're not going to make that deadline, but they'll soon be online, and it's going to help us into the future beyond the summer.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we'd like to open it up to the audience, both our in-person audience and also our audience on Zoom today. So let's start with our in-person audience. Do we have any questions from anyone here?
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, Larry Sig, President and CEO of Meet AC. Sure. Larry Sig, President and CEO of Meet AC. So for the whole panel, The one Jimmy talked about before about meetings and conventions, how we're noticing 25 to 35% increase, especially on the exhibitor side, as opposed to the attendee side. But what I was curious in your respective industries, if you're seeing out of the pandemic new business that you never saw before. I mean, we're seeing new vertical markets that have been come out of the pandemic. So I'd be curious, and Sharon, I think you sort of talked about it with weddings, for example. I mean, you did maybe a couple weddings previous to, pre-pandemic, but now you're kind of known as a wedding venue. So that has to be considered a new market
Yes,
for you.
definitely a
doing
new
so.
market.
So I'm just curious if you see any new markets. We saw Clean and Safe and, different, cleaning chemicals and those types of companies now that are doing trade shows. And they're increasing the number of booths that they have because the dollar, they're all fighting for the same dollar now. So like we just had the Champs convention and they had like 460 booths last year. They had 625 this year. So I'd be curious if you saw new markets out of this.
Well, I thank you because of what you've done with the sports market. It's just absolutely blown up, and that translates to families coming in. Yeah, you might not, go shopping on the high level and bring some spending back, but if your kid's going to a volleyball tournament, you're going to be there, and we're seeing that loud and clear. Also, the weddings market, you touch on that. Casinos really weren't considered for weddings very much. This Sunday, we're doing one at Boogie Nights for about 150 people.
They're having their ceremony at the pier. They're getting married, they're getting their ceremony at the pier, and they're doing their reception at the, at Boogie Nights. Yeah, so we all work, it's just amazing how we all work together.
We're all in this together.
Yeah.
Very
absolutely.
nice.
Good stuff.
Good
One of the
question,
things
thank
that
you.
we're seeing is a lot of these, a lot more whole house rentals with the multi-generational families. So, they might be renting even, multiple families, a $10,000 a week, 10-bedroom house, $15,000 a week in Avalon Stone Harbor. We're finding that 2 and 3 families might come together, and then they're renting this whole house. It's becoming more affordable, and then they're not necessarily the group that's going out to the bars or to the restaurants. They're doing a lot more takeout, a lot more, delivery to the house, or eating, in-house. So that's changed a little bit. And what happens is that it also changes those who shop. Those who go to the restaurants downtown tend to go shopping. So we're seeing that, the job shortage has become an issue and businesses aren't staying open as long, but we're also seeing that in some of these areas, people aren't going out. They're not going to the restaurants. They're eating in or doing takeout. So then they're not, they might go for ice cream or something, but they're not doing the shopping. So we're seeing some of the stores that aren't going to, used to be open till 10 o'clock at night are now closing at 8. So, that's a little bit of a change, and they're making adjustments. And I mean, our business community, I can't say enough about how resilient they are, how innovative they've been. They made it work. They made it work. If they had to shut down, close down some hours, close for a day. And whoever heard of summer business in the Wildwoods that wasn't open 7 days, 12 hours a day? But we saw that, and they made it work. We still did very well. And they made the adjustments, and that's some of the ups and downs and what we're looking at that has changed a little bit. But the outdoor activities, whale watching, all those things, they have just skyrocketed. Like Sharon said, people want to be outside. They want to have their own space. They want to do and then continue with social distancing.
Thank you, good question. Any other questions?
I'm Debbie Gagakis.
Oh.
I'm Debbie Gagakis. I work for Keller Williams, Jersey Shore, on the boardwalk real estate agency. And I was just wondering, do you think you're going to have a problem? I know the amount of people coming into the city is going to be a lot. And right now, the staffing is very, very difficult. And do you feel that you're going to have enough people to handle all the people coming in for service-wise? I know a lot of people go to restaurants and they're getting very frustrated, and they're on vacation, so they want to be serviced. They don't want to have to wait like a long time to get their food and that type of thing. Do you still feel there's going to be a problem with fulfilling the staffing in the city?
I'll start off. I mean, the whole industry, the whole city, we're all in search of more workers, especially in the summertime. It will be all hands on deck. All managers who aren't used to checking in people are going to be at the front desk, helping out wherever we need to get the job done and provide the service that, these customers are paying for and expect. J1 program has definitely helped that. We've had a lot of regional hiring fairs, and we've had some success with that. And also keeping your wages competitive so you don't lose them to a fellow, a competitor. So all those things I think play into it.
Are we reaching out to the colleges and the high schools?
Everywhere.
To get these kids to come
Trust
out?
them.
Yeah, they've all been great partners, Stockton
Going to
especially.
retirees and say, didn't you always want to,
Yeah,
work
right.
where you used to vacation or where you
It was funny.
vacation?
I don't know if anybody saw that Amazon commercial, but it's funny, but it's true. It's like one guy says, well, I'm really not a morning person, so don't book me, don't schedule me before noon. This person, I can only work this day and this day. And they go back and say, you're hired, right? So we have done that too. And, just say, you can only work Tuesday and Wednesday. Great.
Yeah.
We'll take
Listen,
it.
You'll take
we,
it.
we're in our busiest year. Last year was probably one of our busiest years since my bosses owned the pier. And, we did it. We did it. We were short-staffed. We did it. If a kid didn't show up and he didn't come in till 1 o'clock, it was like, okay, because we're not getting rid of him. He's going in no matter what. I mean,
tiresome.
we survived it. But what we will see in staff is it's the competition with the wage, and that's where it's an issue. We're an amusement pier. We hire kids. And they're, we're in a competition with the, $17 an hour to $20 an hour. And that we just can't do that. I mean, Great Adventure is doing $20 an hour for kids to work, $20 an hour to work a ride. Yeah. So that's where we find a little, it'd be a pushback for staff for us. But as far as we did it last year, we were open, we got everything open, and we were our busiest season. So we'll do it again this year.
Humans that run businesses are remarkably good at adapting. I think we've proven that to ourselves over the last 2 years. Given
true.
all of these things, I mean, Sharon mentioned the restaurants. I mean, there's so many examples of this, and Jim was talking about self-check-in, and then it turns out people actually like some of this
Yes,
stuff, right?
yes.
I mean, it's remarkable, right? I mean, mother and necessity and invention, as they say. It's
I guess that's one of the positive things of COVID, business become more flexible in
Yeah.
staffing and
It has to
hours.
be,
and
yeah.
what they're not as rigid as you have to work these 8 hours, 8 to 5, and that type of thing. And I think maybe COVID has convinced businesses that there's a lot of talent out there and older, semi-retired people that only want to work 20 hours a week or 4 hours a day. And getting that type of employee versus someone that wants to work 8.
It's definitely gotten better. I remember during the height of COVID, when we were open, we had a midnight to 8 supervisor at the front desk, and that's a hard position to fill. And she was telling me how she was leaving. I was like, why? Where are you going? She goes, I've always wanted to go to Italy, so I'm moving there. And I was like, what? So you had these situations where people had this aha moment, and hey, I'm doing this every single day. Do I want to do something different? And a lot of them made that leap. But it's gotten better since then.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Good.
goodness.
Another good question. Anyone else from the audience?
We do have a few online, so while you might be thinking of another question, we'll take a few from there. This one is from Laura Smythe of Philadelphia Business Journal. What are some of the most significant ways that inflation is affecting your business headed into summer? So I think she's looking for some specific examples.
The cost of our product has gone up, and then unfortunately we have to put that onto the customer, and you don't want to, but there's no other way. Like I'm going to say our stuffed animals in our stands have gone up quite a bit because, they come on the containers overseas, and that shipping has gone up dramatically. I mean, it's just incredible how much shipping is, and that gets put onto the product, not just stuffed animals, every product. So that's been we've seen that as an issue with the inflation, definitely.
We've had to have some creative conversations with our groups because they've been in there every year and they've had a fillet and a lobster tail, and now they see the real costs of, they haven't been here in 3 years. 3 years later, the true costs of these items, and there's a little sticker shock.
Yes.
So we have to we have to work with them and say, okay, maybe you go with a salmon or a ribeye instead, and walk them through that to their comfort level.
There's like no wiggle room, especially in the food area. We're at our weddings and stuff. Like unfortunately, we have to charge what we have to charge because that's our prices. And there used to be wiggle room, but there really isn't, because right now everything is just really skyrocketed. And you want to give wiggle room, but you can't. And the customer's starting to learn that, and it's frustrating. It's definitely sticker shock. Our customers are a sticker shock, but I don't think it's just us. It's everywhere. It's the whole country, and maybe the whole world. But it definitely is.
And we're finding also restaurants have reduced their menus, changed their options. Their menus are maybe on a QR code because they have to change them because they can't get, it could be on their menu as a regular and all of a sudden they can't get the item.
Right.
So they're changing, they're becoming more flexible. And, just the cost of, the fry oil doubled. So now there's menus that are not doing as much fried food because, they need to reduce that cost because they can't really move all those costs on to the customer. It would just be cost prohibitive. They wouldn't buy it. So the flexibility and changing the menus and reducing the size of the menus, I think it's going to be the norm. And until things, whether it's the food chain or supply chain or whatever it is, a lot of these restaurants are heavily impacted because they can't get what they normally would serve, or it's so costly they can't pass it on.
And another thing for inflation, give them a great experience. If they're paying that top dollar, give them a great experience, because then they're going to walk away and they're going to forget about what it just cost them. They're going to say, well, oh my goodness, that was great. And we see that in our industry, in the rides, in our food, and in our events that we do. They get a great experience when they come to the pier. And the prices could be higher, but they walk away and they forget about that price because they walking away happy, and that's important for any industry. You want your customer walking out of there saying that was the best experience I ever had. I didn't care if it cost me 3 times the amount of the money.
And the difference is between cost and value. They perceived they had great value, even though it may have cost more money. That experience and that value is there, and that's what they remember. That's what they tell their friends. That's why they come back. So that's, that doesn't really, to give that customer experience doesn't cost more money. It's just, bring in the right people that can make that a fun or an entertaining meal or event.
And there's definitely a greater emphasis on that. We have what we call family style service, and you want to own the experience and treat that customer like a family member. And that is more important today than ever before.
Absolutely. So I'm hiring mascots if anybody wants to get a costume.
Sure. And this might be a great follow-up question to that.
You'll be busy operating the
question
first wheel.
from David Matthau. What would your pitch be to New Jersey residents who are obviously impacted by inflation but really want a break and want to get away?
Could you repeat that?
So,
Home badge.
What would be your
pitch to
advice
Jersey residents?
to Jersey residents who want to get away, even though there's costs are higher?
Well, I'm sure all of these folks come to the shore.
Yeah.
Come to the shore for sure. It's interesting, I mean, again, I think that there is so much talk of inflation, which is understandable, but it is something that families experience quite differentially, right? I mean, if you have a family, you take a family that lives predominantly in a city, and may not actually have to get in a car every day. And there's a handful of cities, right? I mean, so gas prices are totally meaningless to folks that are largely pedestrian based or, urban transit based. I mean, so there are other folks who, don't eat out on a regular basis, right? Everything is at home. And so, the idea of, restaurant meals, which have jumped dramatically, right? Because of food costs. So it's, to the extent that you get different groups of people that are interested in vacationing and who isn't, they have been impacted over the last, 9 months to a year very, very differently, right? Some of them are going to make very different discretionary decisions if they've been, severely impacted, others much less so. So it's kind of an interesting, we talk about it, but it doesn't affect everyone equally, obviously.
I think people get a little jaded to being in New Jersey and they want to go away, and we're in their own backyard, and give us another look. They might not have considered Atlantic City or the region, but give us another look, and you'll see there's plenty to do and experience, and it'll be money well spent.
So is there another question from the audience? From the in-person audience? So I'll ask just a few more from our virtual audience. Jack wanted to know, in his words, are you prepared to deal with an increase in COVID if it happens? So, you know, after the quick response when it first peaked, are businesses, in your opinion, prepared?
I think we would be, we've learned a lesson. I mean, if anything, we know, I mean, not saying we're professionals at learn about COVID, but what we combated the last 2 years, especially that first year, and especially being busy as we were and having to social distance and having to be like capacity on the rides, yeah, we would be ready. We would definitely be ready. I think pretty much a majority of industries are ready for that. Not that we want this to happen again, but we definitely, I think people would even feel more comfortable if something like that happened again, knowing that we are ready and that we're prepared and we've been through this, you know, so I think, yes, we would be definitely prepared.
I'm knocking wood wherever it is, but that will not happen. But I think the variants are probably here for quite a while, and you know the severity of it is what we have to determine. But we've got a good playbook, and we dust it off and implement it safely.
Here's a question from Amy Rosenberg. Have you seen any changes in the demographics of who is coming to various places at the shore?
I'll start. You definitely see a younger demographic. There's still some of our older core customers that are a little leery about being in large groups. It's getting better, much better than it was last year, but people are traveling in packs. I'm seeing, whether it's bridal parties or just, you know, couples getting together and going out. You don't see those one-off couples as much as people traveling in packs.
We have at the pier, definitely. In Atlantic City on the boardwalk itself, I saw the last 2 years, like Jim said, traveling in groups and stuff, more families. Like we have families, but I've seen more and more families because I see families are traveling more since COVID. They're together, they're with their kids, they lived with their kids while the kids were in school. I mean, everything is focused about the family now. And as to Jim too, younger people, the millennials, they're out there. They're looking for the deals, the millennials, but they're there because there's a lot to offer in Atlantic City. Atlantic City has such great experience. There's an experience everywhere you turn in Atlantic City, and that's, I think, what's driving people here too. So yeah, I see a big change in the demographics, and it's good for us. It's good for Steel Pier. So
I think what we're seeing is that multi-generational visitor. It's the family, the children, the grandchildren. I know our Canadian visitors, they kind of take caravans. They come together because then they stay in the same hotel or the same campground because then they can help each other. They can help translation if somebody doesn't know English, and also childcare or whatever. They come together and that's how they travel. And we've seen that for many, many years. But the multi-generational, we're seeing not only are the groups changing and we're seeing these different age levels, we're seeing that the businesses are changing to adapt to, you know, maybe there's areas where, you know, the kids are on the rides and you'll see more seating or shaded seating, you know, for, you know, maybe the grandparents to sit and watch. They're allowing more, you know, parents to come in and grandparents to watch children and not charge. I mean, there's a lot of adjustments that are being made by the business community, as well as we start to see these larger groups coming in. And you know, the important thing is they all want to have that experience. So, you know, I myself, you know, I want my grandchildren to say, remember when we went and we did certain things. So they wanted to build that bond. Many of them have been separated for 2 years. You know, they weren't really getting together. So we're going to see more and more of that as they come together to make memories, build families back together. And it could be neighbors, it could be, you know, the family, but these groups are definitely what we're seeing and hearing more about when they come. That's kind of that whole part of the whole house rental too, you know, to bring everybody together.
All right. Any more questions from the in-person audience? Okay, just gentleman here.
Kenny Burns with WHYY. You guys mentioned the issue with J1 and how the bottleneck is slowly getting unclogged. I'm just wondering, how are you guys going to ensure, because there was mention of the housing issues, how are you guys going to ensure that they have a place to live once they're over there?
Well, the agency we work with, they won't have them come here if we don't have housing for them. So we will find housing. It's just been a little tough for us, but the agency is not going to let us bring them here if there's no guaranteed housing for them. We have to guarantee the housing. So that's kind of changed from over the years. The kids used to come here and find their housing, but now the agency wants us to actually make sure that it's in their contract that they have housing, or else they will not come here.
We have it a little easier at Tropicana. We have a section within our Chelsea Hotel that we take out of order, don't sell to the public, and can accommodate the J1s. We have a cafeteria where they can eat, so we're set up for it pretty well. We had a large contingency from South America who worked last year are back and bringing family members with them because they had a good experience. So we had a little running start with that we were fortunate.
That's right.
That's great.
Okay, one last question from our virtual audience, and then we'll conclude the program. Nicholas asks, what measures are being implemented to return employee labor to pre-pandemic levels? So you mentioned the J1 visas. Are there any other initiatives?
Well, I think what you already said is some of the lifestyle changes, like you'll accept different working hours and things to make people's lifestyle better.
And we give incentives. There's an incentive program at the pier. They stay with us for a certain amount of time and everything. There's always an increase in bonuses. All last summer, we gave out thousands of dollars in gift cards to our help, throughout the summer. So we have incentives to keep them there, to bring them in and keep them there. And I think that's why we fared well with the local local employees, because of the incentives that we gave. So, and we'll do that again this year. And if that's what it takes, we're going to do it, because we need to be open. So,
And we've done some incentives in the front end. Tell your family and friends, and if you bring a family or friend, you get a bonus on top of that.
Great.
Use your workers who are happy to kind of be your outreach.
Last question? Okay, well, thank you, everyone. This concludes our program. I do have a QR code up here. If you would please take a few moments to fill out a survey that helps us shape our future programming. But thank you all to our in-person audience and our virtual audience for attending today. I think the key takeaway is that Jersey Shore is an attractive place for people to visit, and although there's challenges, there's also new opportunities, which I was delighted to hear from the panelists today, and that things look bright for the summer. So thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed the session.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.